So you're finally done setting your goals, consuming content from different media, and practicing your writing and art. Now you feel ready to take on the world and start creating your webcomic. Do you jump straight to creating? Yes. Like we've said before, you'll never feel ready or good enough, so you just have to shake off the doubts and just start creating. Does that mean you have to start without any plan? That depends. If you plan this webcomic to be for your eyes only, do it to your heart's content. But if you want to show your webcomic to others, or upload it on a public platform, you might want to step back a little. Even if this is a trial, you'd want to make it as good as possible. You're going to put a lot of effort into doing this, so might as well catch some eyes while you're at it, right? As a guide, here are 5 things to do before starting your webcomic series. Number 1. Outline your webcomic. Is this webcomic going to be a one-shot? Will it end in one season? Or is this going to be an epic, long journey that would take years to complete? Before you start, you need to answer these questions and have a general outline of your story from start to finish. You can wing it with the writing, sure, but establish at the very least the major events of the story. This will help you set your expectations, create a realistic schedule, and promote motivation. Many writers fall into the trap of either cutting their stories short or stretching their stories way beyond what's necessary. Doing either of these may leave you and your readers unsatisfied, and it may potentially ruin your webcomic. You have to find the sweet spot that's just right, and you can do that if you plan and do an outline. We'll have a video focused on outlining soon, so look forward to it and subscribe to our channel to get notified once it's out. Number 2. Consider your main audience. A wise man once said, "Make a webcomic for yourself and you'll find great and mighty success which you do not know." Some people may disagree with that, but that statement is 100% true. After all, you have to be the one to love your work best. But to garner some kind of success, you have to consider those who will be reading your comic. After all, you can't make clones of yourself and read it over and over to get the hype it needs. Establishing your webcomic's main audience is a key to doing this. Define your genre and subgenre, and do your research about who will most likely read your webcomic. Profile your audience by demographic factors such as age and gender, and tailor your story to their preferences by making sure the story is relevant and engaging to them. Take into consideration the needs and interests of your main audience, and analyze similar works by looking at what worked and what didn't. In order to have success, you need to build a loyal readership who will eagerly await your future works. And a proven way to do that is to know your main audience right before you start creating. Number 3. Decide where you'll be uploading your webcomics. With the popularity of webcomics rising over the years, several digital platforms have emerged, and creators now have numerous options to publish and monetize their work. Gone are the days when the only option was to create your own website to host your webcomic. Now you can put your webcomics with direct monetization sites like Patreon, or upload your webcomics through free webcomic platforms like Webtoon. Despite the convenience, creators still need to determine where they should post their webcomics. One consideration is the platform's user base and demographics. Creators need to ensure the platform's users align with the webcomic's target audience. An action webcomic might struggle to thrive on a platform where the majority of readers are female. On another note, a manga might not perform as well as colored webcomics on a webcomic platform. Another thing to consider is the monetization options of the platform. Some platforms provide more direct support for creators by allowing them to put the comics under a paywall. The only disadvantage is that fewer readers are likely to lay eyes on your work, especially if you're just starting. A better option is to publish it on a public platform where anyone can read it for free. These platforms provide an easier way for newer creators to establish a fan base, and they also provide a little monetization through ad revenues. There's no limit to where you can post your webcomic, so you can post it on all platforms available. However, that may require additional effort from your end as every platform has a different requirement and policy. Make your research about each platform before starting your webcomic, and upload to the platforms that you think will give you a higher chance of finding success. Number 4. Set a schedule and stick to your deadlines. One of the most common pitfalls of being a successful webcomic creator is the lack of commitment to the creation process. Our current world is rife with distractions, and many creators fail to keep up because they lose motivation along the way. Believe me when I tell you that no one is immune to this. If you don't create a schedule and stick to your deadlines, you'll probably end up stopping halfway through. Schedules may seem like a waste of time for some, but they are more than just dates on a calendar. They are powerful tools that help drive productivity, inspire focus, and propel you to complete your webcomic. Having deadlines provides a sense of urgency and accountability, which can significantly boost motivation and efficiency. It also helps you organize and manage your time and provides a way to allocate efforts to more difficult tasks. The usual process of creating a webcomic is divided into 6 different tasks: scripting, storyboarding, sketching, inking, coloring, and finalizing. It's normal to not excel in at least one of these tasks, so you have to determine your strengths and weaknesses and create a schedule based on that. Say, for example, you have an easier time storyboarding, but you have less experience with coloring. In your schedule, it's probably best to allot fewer hours to storyboarding and more time to coloring. As a creator, you also need to identify a target release date and commit to it. This will kickstart your motivation to complete your first chapter. If you're creating a series, don't stop there and establish a timeline that you can stick to for the remaining chapters. Remember, creating a webcomic series isn't a one-off endeavor, so you have to create a recurring schedule that you can habitually follow. Once it becomes a habit, you won't even notice it, and you'll find the creation process easier and more enjoyable. Professional creators typically have weekly deadlines, but if you're just starting, you don't need to push yourself too hard to achieve that. If you're aspiring to be a pro someday, though, it might be in your best interest to adjust your schedule little by little until you can do it. After all, several small steps lead to big progress. Number 5. Prepare for the psychological toll of being a webcomic creator. Being a webcomic creator is physically taxing, but what most don't mention is the stress that creators may feel when putting their webcomics out in public. Creating webcomics is a labor of love. For webcomic creators, sharing their work with the world is both exciting and fun. Despite this, criticisms and failures are just around the corner. So before starting, you need to prepare yourself for all the psychological toll that may befall you. Receiving criticism is an unavoidable aspect of being a webcomic creator, but it doesn't have to be detrimental to your success. Handling negative feedback and learning to accept them can significantly impact your creative journey and mental well-being. Manage your emotional responses and learn to take criticisms constructively. If you can turn negative situations into opportunities for growth and improvement, you're on the right track. Failure and rejection are also very common. With so many creators in the space, not everyone will reach millions of readers or followers. Right at the start, you need to accept that luck is an ingredient to success and focus on the things that you can control. At the end of the day, the important thing is you learn something and you have fun while creating your webcomic. Being a creator is hard, so congratulate yourself for taking the first step into achieving your dream. If you enjoyed or learned something from this video, please subscribe to this channel as we'll be uploading more content related to webcomic creation and the webcomic industry. We are an art studio that specializes in creating webcomics and manga, and we have released several works on different platforms such as Webtoon, Tapas, and VoiceMe. If you're interested in checking our work, visit our website at blackbamstudio.com or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This has been Black Bam Studio, and we hope we brought you closer to your dream of being a successful comic creator.